Welcome to another episode of Let's Wine Stories Uncorked. And today I have the distinct privilege of welcoming my friend and a role model and a mentor, the one and only Heidi Otway. And welcome, Heidi. And it's we're neighbors in Florida, but today we are having our podcast from Singapore. Well, cheers to that. Cheers to that. Wonderful. What a pleasure to have you here. And thank you to our agency partners, APRW, who have been so gracious of hosting us. And thank you for their hospitality. You and I, you are one of the reasons why I'm a member of IPREX. Square Root is a member of IPREX. But it took us more than 10,000 miles to get together and do a podcast.
And we're both in Florida, and you wouldn't think that I could just, pop down to Miami because I'm in Tallahassee. But no, we had to do it here.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you for the gift of your time. I know you're very busy executive and president of your firm. So thank you so much for that. And I would love for our audience, who are mostly female founders and executives, to hear a little bit about your trajectory, your story, and how you made it to becoming president of your firm.
Yeah. So actually, it started when I was in elementary school. I was, the teacher was like, "You talk a lot." I actually have a piece of paper where she sent a note to my mom that says, "Heidi does not know how to stop talking." And I still have that piece of paper. And as I grew older, I just had the gift for conversation, for connecting with people, for talking with people. And when I got into middle school, I became a print reporter. I was like 12. And I'm writing articles for our little school newspaper. And I just saw the response from people when I was communicating about very simple things like, "Can you guess this word?" And then I would write why we should know about, words in the dictionary. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, Heidi, I loved your article." And I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting." And as my, life progressed, I just was, drawn into communications. And I knew I wanted to work in television news when I was in high school because I met the anchor of one of our television news stations. And I told him, I said, I don't even know how to do this, but I want to work in TV news. And he looked at me and he says, "You can be whatever you want."
This was down in Miami?
This was down in Miami, one of the anchors at Channel 10 News in Miami.
Local 10.
Local 10.
Right.
And I've pursued a degree in broadcast journalism at Florida A&M University, studied broadcast journalism, and was able to be exposed to producers and news directors at TV stations who would come to the university and look for talent. So when I graduated from college, I got married, had a baby, and I got my first job working for a satellite news station that was based in Tallahassee. We had the first satellite truck ever built in the United States, and we would do live shots from the state capitol. And I used to go and interview the governor, policymakers, legislative leaders, and all these folks who were coming to Tallahassee to try to impact policy. And then I got recruited to go work in Miami at WSVN. And at the time, I was 24 years old, and I was running the weekend news desk as an assignment editor. And then I kind of bounced around in television news. But like the most pivotal moments of my broadcast career was I was in Oklahoma City when the Oklahoma City bombing occurred.
95?
That was in 94. 94, if I recall. 95. Because I had a baby, I had a trauma baby right afterward, but because I was there in Tulsa and we covered that. And it was one of the most unreal experiences of my career. And then I started doing live shots and producing for ABC News as a freelancer for the morning shows. And that was just amazing. I got to interview Paula Abdul's doctor.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so I just moved around and became a news manager. And I started having more children. And after a while, I was like, oh, I'm not home with my kids because I'm running newsrooms. And so my best friend, Lisa Hall, who gave me my first job, because she ran the satellite truck and she brought me in. She called me. She says, it's time. I said, time for what? She says, it's time for you to get into PR. And I was like, PR? She's like, yeah, you need to come and work with me at PR, because she had left TV news to go get in PR. So I joined the firm I'm at now. I was like, 30 something. And when I got there, I was like, oh my God, I have found my place. Like from like being little to being a communicator, to being in broadcast journalism, to being a journalist, because I did work in newspapers, to being on the other side. It's like in news, you're reactive, right? So we're reacting to the press releases, we're reacting to that. But on the PR side, you get to influence what's communicated. And I'm like that.
I can tell. You are so passionate when you're talking about that. So you started doing what at your firm?
When I got,
Yes.
So because I had a news background, I was really, really good at media relations. And at the time, everyone wanted to be in the news. And so I spent the first 3 to 4 years of my career just being the go-to person to get our clients in the news. And it was easy for me because I knew half the newspapers and the TV stations and the radio stations in Florida because I worked with them. So I could just pick up the phone. Hey, Jono, it's Heidi. Hey, Edwin, it's Heidi. Hey, so-and-so, it's Heidi. I need to get my client on the news. And they're like, hey, Michelle.
That's funny because that story pitching, that's how I started my career. I was working at Burson Standard. That was my first job out of college in Miami. And I always say that made us good salespeople. Because you know for our audience, how hard it's to sell a story. Sometimes there were no story angles. There were no news.
Listen, I had to pitch a Spearmint.
What is that?
Exactly.
I don't know if it's the wine, but
I had to pitch a Spearmint. It was a technology that was being developed at Florida A&M University, my alma mater. And Dr. Lewis Johnson was creating this laser tool. I don't know what it did. I just knew the name. And I got them on the front page of a newspaper.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And so it's been how many years with SalterMitchell?
This will be year 23.
23. Wow. What an amazing career.
It's been fun. I love what I do. It's so much fun. You get to work with different people. You get to work with different industries. And I like to say, enough to be dangerous, right? Because we work with so many different organizations. And I always tell my clients, I said, you're the expert in your industry, and I'm the expert in communication. So let's make this thing work, right? And it's just like this good synergy. Like they teach me, and then I guide them.
So you're a dangerous woman who's fully fluent in Floridian. Well, can you share with our audience, Heidi, what fluent in Floridian means?
Yeah, well, it really means that our firm has committed to helping organizations communicate in the third most populous state in America. So what we do is we try to make sure that every campaign that we do for them, every piece of communication is not just for one individual, but Florida is one of the most diverse states in the United States. So we make sure that we do our communications in languages with the cultural nuances and the imagery to reflect the people of Florida, because we're multilingual, multi-generational, multicultural. And so we can't have a one-size-fit-all approach. And I think that's why our clients keep coming back to us, is because we look at everything from that lens and say, you're forgetting this particular audience. Have you done any work with them? And sometimes it's, public health related. We don't do B2C and we don't sell things. We don't do commercial things like that, but we focus more on public health. We focus a lot on public education, public information, and we really try to highlight things in Florida that make our state the best place to live, work, and
Wow, that's amazing. And speaking of education, I know that you're very passionate. You have an internship program, and I've seen some of the interns that you've had, that you hosted over the past year. Why don't you share what has been the biggest takeaway from the internship program that you have?
Yeah, I'm I'm I don't like using the word proud, but I am proud of the number of college students that we brought into our agency, exposed them to independent agencies, right? So we're not the big global,
Right.
we're an independent firm. And when you work in an independent firm, these young people get hands-on experience.
Yes.
They're sitting next to the senior leadership who's teaching them and showing them how we work. And they get exposed to how do you get a client? Because if you go to a big global, you really are not exposed to that. You're really just doing work, right? And so we bring them in and we expose them to all of this, and they're sitting next to me in a meeting. And I just recently I started a cohort at Floridian University because we noticed in our research that there weren't a lot of Black and brown people going into PR. And when I would go to talk to students, their version of PR was, I want to be a publicist. I want to work for celebrities. I want to, so it wasn't like what we do, strategic communications, engaging with publics. So I created with IPREX a cohort at Florida A&M University, which is a historically Black college and university. We did it last year, was the first pilot year, and we had 6 students, and we exposed them to IPREX agencies. And I'm proud to say that one of the students was a broadcast major, and she switched over to PS.
Oh my God, you converted her to the other side.
Yeah, and we just finished the second cohort last month, and when we were kind of done, the students were like, we want more, please. Can we do more? So I've extended it 2 more months so that they can have more time with me as they prepare for the next school semester, because now they have a running start toward graduation, building a portfolio. So they did work on one of my clients' projects so that they can have a portfolio. They were mentored by me. They participated in the IPREX Leadership Development Conference. They did an Ask Me Anything with one of our partners. And then they spent every other Friday, they're sitting in my office, and I'm just talking about what we do in public relations.
Wow, what an opportunity. That's amazing.
Yeah, they made me cry in our last meeting. It was remarkable because I said, I want you all to give me a testimonial so that we can share it with all of our IPREX partners, everyone who's had supportive of this. And when we were done, I was sitting there going, okay, you guys are going to make me because it was just so remarkable to hear them say, I've never had someone bring me in to have these kinds of experiences. And one of the young ladies says, I'm sitting with a FAMU grad who's the president of a business. And it's kind of struck me like, but, and then I thought about it, I was like, yeah, how often do you get that experience? It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. It doesn't matter you get that experience.
And think about that little girl who talked too much in preschool, who's now not only running a powerhouse of an agency, but building opportunities for younger generations. That's truly amazing.
Yeah, I just go back to my own life. Every step I've taken in my career and in my life, someone was there to open a door. Someone was there to guide me. I didn't get here by myself. And so I believe that I need to pay it forward for the next generation, because if we don't, who's gonna run our agency?
Yeah.
So you and I are in Singapore.
Yeah, that's right. In Bali, yeah.
All these, who's gonna be running our agencies, right? So it's up to us. We need to grow the next generation. And I know our industry is changing rapidly. We have AI, we have technologies, we have all these new things. I mean, I told the students the other day, I said, in one of our last meetings, I said, well, I was interrupted by the internet, right? Remember, the internet came out a long time ago, and it shifted everything, right? So all the printed stuff that we did, I stopped doing it, and everything went online. And then we had social media.
Yeah.
And that disrupted everything. And we had to go with that. So now we have a...
I got into the business at the time that I had my first job. We were still sending faxes.
Tell me about
press releases via faxes. Yeah.
It's crazy. And you hear the...
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
then you have to call and say, did you get the facts?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But technology has advanced our work as communicators, and AI has the same opportunity to do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And since the theme of our podcast is wine, I know you drink wine only in very special occasions. What's your favorite wine for those special occasions?
I love Sincere out of France. It is my favorite wine. And even though I don't drink a lot, I think I have like 8 bottles at my house. So I'll go into a store and I'll see a bottle like one damn. So I take it. So that's the
Well, but I think you are opening one very soon if you have not, because I have the privilege of sharing with our audience and those members of IPREX that you're the newest incoming president, global president for IPREX. Congratulations! Cheers, cheers, cheers to that.
This is ginger ale, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm the one doing the drinking here with an excellent wine recommended by Anu Gupta, the Asia director for at APRW. This is a wine called Hatton from Bali.
Oh yeah, I might have a tablespoon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's right.
So tell us, Heidi, in your new role, what in addition to running your agency, what responsibilities you will be having and what's your vision for IPREX?
Yeah, so I want to go back a little bit to how I moved into the role. So, when we had the social unrest after the murder of George Floyd, IPREX made the decision to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. It had never been done in the history of the organization. And we had agencies saying, I want to support people of color because of what has happened.
Right.
Let's address these past things that have happened. So I was asked to be the co-chair with Dawn Fallon, who is a Chinese American who was a member of IPREX. So Dawn and I were the co-chairs, and we ran a task force to figure out, well, how will we do this for a global organization with, because when you talk about DE&I, it's not just about race. It's about gender. It's about age, and then sexual orientation,
Disabilities,
yes, abilities, and all those things. So we needed to figure out how do we do this so that it applies to a global organization. And so we built this framework with a number of people, and it was very well received. And they allowed us to create they created a position on the executive committee for the DEI chair. Well, Dawn left. She decided to leave the IPREX agency she was working at. They says, Heidi, now you're the chair and you're going to be on the executive committee. And I was like, okay. And so we did all these surveys of our members to find out what they wanted, what they needed, how we should approach this. And we responded, and we built tools. We had webinars. We built toolkits, playbooks. We did calls, meetings to listen and learn so that we give them what they need, regardless whether you're in Japan, where they had ageism, whether you're in Europe, where they had, sexism. And then if you're in the US, there was racism, right? So we looked at everything. And so I did that for 2 years, almost 3. And then I was asked to become the Americas regional president. And so I took that role. And this is my last term as the Americas regional president. And what our role is when you're running the region, it's really to be an ear for the region, to find out what their needs are, to listen, because when you're the owner of a business, it's a lonely job.
yes, very.
Because we carry such a heavy weight. We got to take care of our clients. We have to take care of our employees, right? We have to generate business. We have to make payroll. We have to do all these things. And so I always say that IPREX is like my therapy. And everyone was like, and it's just like,
Yeah, I agree.
we get together and we have these conversations and we're like, okay, I'm not in this by myself.
Yes.
And so that's how I kind of approached the Americas, and just making sure that needs were met and we were all collaborating. And now at the global level, so instead of just focusing on North America, South America, Mexico, Canada. Now I get to do this for all time. So just to spread that camaraderie, the love, the joy, the friendship, the partnership, and to know that someone has your back.
Yes.
Because then it's not so daunting or lonely. And, I find that every time I do a call, like I talk to you and talk with another agency, I just feel the less pressure, like, yes, I can do this.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so empowering to be with like-minded individuals and knowing that we're not alone, that we're not facing whatever the situation may be by ourselves. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's why I love IPREX since I joined, because when I joined IPREX,
How many years ago?
so this would have been, I got really active around 2013, I think, 2013. And I was at this very low point in my career because I wasn't sure that I still wanted to do what I was doing. And I was able to go to the IPREX Leadership Conference in Paris. And on the way there, I was just like, oh, I'm going to Paris. And when I got there, I met we call ourselves the next generation, right? Because we had founders and they wanted to grow into leadership. And I found my tribe. I found my people. And I haven't looked back. And I told Alex and any who will listen, IPREX kept me here and helped me grow to where I'm at today.
Wow, that's amazing. What an amazing story. And you have done all of this while, and I've had the fortune of meeting your husband while being in business, but being in the business of being married for 36 years?
So we've been together 36 years. This year will be 34.
34, well, still, that's quite a journey. What's the secret, Heidi?
He's my best friend.
Oh, that's beautiful.
He's my best friend. I mean, he knows me. He knows how, and I'm very like, well, you know how we're communicating. And he's like, well, come on, bring it back in. So he balances me, and we have 3 amazing kids. They're just they ground us, and now we have grandkids.
2?
And they're just amazing. And so I always say life is great.
Yeah, it is indeed. Heidi, we are 10,000 miles or so away from home, right? And we're here at the IPREX conference. I am amazed by everything that I've seen here in Singapore. It's my first time. What are you expecting from this conference? And what do you think it's different about this conference from many others that you attended in the past? And especially since it's here in Asia.
Yeah. So I kind of help make it happen a little bit.
Oh, some ways.
Anu is our host, and I just adore that woman. And when she joined IPREX, she called me to kind of get to know some of the agencies. And so we're on a video call, and I said, I really want to go to Singapore. It's been like something I've always wanted to do. She said, okay. She said, okay, right? And I was supposed to go to Singapore for my 50th birthday, and then COVID hit, so I wasn't able to go. And so Amin comes along, and when she agreed to host, the first person she called was me. You know what I did? I cried. I was like, oh my God.
And here we are.
And and what I love about it is that's what I love about IPREX is that you get to see how universal communications is.
Regardless of language, regardless of country,
location, it is universal. And we may approach it differently because the audiences are different, but there's so much similarity. It's the connection, right?
Yeah.
It's the I hear you. It's to the clients, I'm going to help you engage and speak to that person wherever they are. And that is, again, that's why I just love coming to the countries because I'm like, I'm not on my own.
Yeah.
I know I can call Manu over in Singapore and her team and say, have you done this?
Yeah.
I'll just call you and have you done this?
Yeah.
And there will be a universal thread that as they say, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
We sharpen.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And what word of advice? You talked about communication, which is key in our industry. We're in the business of communicating, right? We're in the business of managing expectations, right? Of multiple stakeholders, right? Not just our clients, but I think one of the issues that we as owners and founders that we're faced with, it's the younger generation being so digitally inclined and sometimes not using technology to avoid or replace communication face to face. I haven't done a single podcast over Zoom because nothing replaces this, right?
Exactly.
Nothing replaces the interaction. What's your advice for the younger generation?
Yeah, I mean, they are the smartest generation.
Yes.
Whether we want to not acknowledge it, but they grew up where they could just type into a computer and get a response. And so I just really, whenever I mentor young people, I said, don't lose your ability to be a critical thinker. Don't let technology think for you, because technology is not perfect. And there's this thing, like you said, about that human interaction that makes you a better communicator, because it's the way someone may be standing. It could be their facial expression. It could be, are they looking down? Are they looking up and engaged with you? AI can't replace them. And so when I talk to young people, I said, don't lose your ability to connect with humans. So get off your phone, talk to people, get to know them. And I did that to my kids when they were growing up. I had an experience with my son. We would go to the mall and he would say, Mom, I want to refill my drink. And I'm like, no, I need you to get up and I need you to go and talk to the person at the counter and ask for a refill. They didn't grow up with like a lot of the interactions that we grew up with, with our elders, with our parents, with our aunties and uncles and all that. Sitting around. Everybody, when you go to the dinner table now, what are they doing? They're looking at their phone. And then if they did have interactions, it may not have always been pleasant. So, okay, am I going to go talk to my grandma? I was a little cranky, but I love her. Or am I going to sit in the corner and just look at TikTok videos? And look at the TikTok video. So the goal is to really, I believe that the younger generation, and we've been successful at the firm doing this, is that it's a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue, a lot of, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? Are you okay? Do you need any support? And it's like, I want to get you to talk to me. I want you to get to trust me. And I want you to come to me and say, it's okay to say, I need help. Yes, you don't have to go run an AI. Talk to the other human beings. It'll make you a better communicator.
I love that piece of advice because it's core, it's the center, communicating. Yeah.
So the person.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And Heidi, the year is not over yet. We still have a number of months left. Yeah. So what's in store for Heidi, for the firm, for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so we're getting ready to revamp our brand, and we're also working to revamp our position in Florida, because what we're seeing is that with all that's happening with the new technologies, you really have to confirm who you are, who you serve, and what you do best in the world, right? Because you want those companies to not go and just use AI. And you want to demonstrate to them, if you come to our firm, you have people that will help you achieve your goals, your objectives, your business objectives, whatever that is. And so we want to really just double down on the Floridian brand, double down on who we serve, double down on proof points of the impact that we have as an agency. And my team is really, really excited about it. And we had our staff retreat recently, and I had this vision for what I wanted the outcome to be, and it happened. They just jumped on it, and I got a lot of advice and counsel from our IPREX members, just asking them, what are you doing differently? How are you, positioning yourself in this ever-changing landscape of what we do? And they all gave me a little bit here, and I just took a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of it, and I brought it to the team, and I said, okay, what are we gonna do? And we started laying out a roadmap. And so January of next year, I'm looking forward to revealing, again, it's not going to be a big change, but just really doubling down on what makes us, really good at what we do.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then we will be celebrating in Buenos Aires, Argentina. We will be hosting the 2027 conference. So I can't wait to have you there with our Square Root marketing team. So looking forward to that.
And the team, your members that I've communicated with are just so remarkable. Alejandro, I just love it.
Yeah. Well, that's we're so looking forward to that. Heidi, to close this podcast, what advice do you have for our audience? Is mostly female executives and owners. What advice do you have for them from a powerhouse who has built a business, a family, a career, who's a mentor to many students out there? What word of advice do you have for us and for the community?
My advice is you don't have to do it alone. It's just that simple. Because sometimes we feel like we should just, sometimes we don't want to be vulnerable, right? Because we want to be that strong, dangerous, right? And we're human.
Yeah.
And so I find that in the moments where I try to do too much on my own, that's where I really fall short or I fail. And as I get older, I'm allowing myself to say, you can't do everything. You got to get out. And you got to be a little vulnerable. It doesn't diminish who I am.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from my superpowers, or my abilities and capabilities. Actually, by asking for help, it makes me stronger and better, right? I've never had anyone tell me no when I said, can you help me, please? I've never had anyone tell me no.
Yeah. Wow.
Ever.
How powerful. How powerful. Well, here is to community, to building together, to IPREX, and to you.
Thank you. And to you too. All right. So ever since you joined, we have connected almost immediately. And I'm so excited about what your future is going to be at IPREX. So glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's continue celebrating each other, celebrating life. And I cannot wait to see you in Buenos Aires next year.
I can't wait to be there.
Yeah. Cheers. Let's wine.